Sechas Nazir Daf Samach Gimel begins with the Mishnah, which discusses what happens if a person finds out after his Nazirus that he has been Tameh. What are the halachas there? We'll divide it into three variables. The Gemara will discuss the source of this halacha. And then the Gemara will get into which opinion it is, and another shiloh which is related to this Mishnah. So let's begin. Mishnah is talking about somebody who finds out that he's been a Tameh. So we're going to discuss three variables as to what the halacha is. First of all, when did he become Tameh? And when did he find out about it? That's variable number one. When did the tumah happen? Variable number two is why didn't he know about it? Was this tumah hidden from him or was it hidden from everybody? And the third variable will be what was his halachic status before? What is his chazakah when he became near this tumah itself? So let's begin. So the Mishnah says you have to have all these three factors have to go your way in order to be able to have a kula here. So the Mishnah discusses it has to be that you found out about the tumah after the haircut. After the haircut, which is pretty much the final step in the tahara process. There's the carbon, there's the haircut, and then there's you burn the hair under the pot cooking part of the carbon shlamim, then you wave it around. But once the haircut happens, that is pretty much the conclusion of the tahara. So if he finds out about it after the tahara, and again, we're referring to tumah that happened while he was still a Nazir, during the time of the Nazirus. But he only found out about it after the Nazirus was over, so then there's a possibility that he may not lose the days of his Nazirus. If, however, he found out about it earlier, then he lost it for sure. Now, assuming that he found out about it after the haircut, it has to be that it was hidden from the entire world, was what the Mishnah calls tumas hatahim, hidden in tumah. It couldn't be that it was tumah yedua, that it were people who knew about it, just he didn't know about it. So if it's tumah yedua, in all circumstances, he's going to lose his days. If it's tumas hatahim, so far we're still good. And now the Mishnah gives an example of how you define tumas hatahim. The Mishnah says that if he goes into a mikvah and the mace was floating in the mikvah, that's not tumas hatahim. That's something that is revealed and that's knowable. If it is, or at least that's not the case in which tumas hatahim is mutter. If the mace was on the floor of the mikvah or was caught in the earth, the bottom of the cave that he went into tefillah for, then you could call that tumas hatahim. But here you have another condition, and that's he had to have been mecheskes tahara. He had to have gone there in order to cool off. He had to have gone into the water for a swim. If he went there because he was tameh, and Mepharshim will discuss what type of tumah he could have been, but he went there because he was tameh, then he's becheskas tumah, then he will still not be able to use this as a heter. So you got to have all three things. He found out about it after the haircut. It was tumas hatahim, it was hidden tumah, and he was becheskes tahara. So now the Gemara begins, and the Gemara discusses how do you see this halacha that tumas hatahim has a kula to it if it's hidden. So the Gemara says two sources. Rav Elazar says because the pasuk says kiyamas meis lov v'pesa pisam olav means that the mace comes on him. It has to be something which was clear to him, something that he knew about. If, however, something that he didn't know about, then it's not going to count to be matame him with the same rules. Rish Lakish says a different source says ki matame lenefesh oy b'derech hachayka, or on a far off way. Derech is a road, just like a road is clear and revealed to everyone, or at least it's clear and revealed, it's exposed. It has to be tumah which is exposed. Tumah which is hidden doesn't count, even though it's matame him, it doesn't count to be saiser everything that he did. So another one is a kasha. We define in a Mishnah, in a brisa which we're going to bring on the next daf, we define definition of tumas hatahim is that no one knows about it. If there's some person even at the other end of the world who knows about it, it doesn't count as tumas hatahim. So according to the opinion that it has to be not known to him to count as tumas hatahim, why should it make a difference if somebody at the end of the world knows? If you say that it's like a road, all right. So as long as it's somebody at the end of the world who knows about it, it's like a road, it's known. You can understand. But if you say the other way, so it doesn't make sense. Now, the Gemara is another kasha. The Gemara brings a brisa that says that somebody finds a mace who is lying crosswise across a road, and people have passed across it, and it's likely that they stepped on or over it and they became tameh. So what's the halacha? So as far as truma, you assume that they are tameh. You cannot eat the truma, and any truma that they ate, they are tameh. far as Nazirus, and as far as making a korban Pesach, you assume that they didn't step on it and they are tahar. It's talking about whether there was a way to get around it. So the Gemara says, what's the reason? Why should there be a difference between all these things? If it's Tumas Tahim is Xeris Akasov, and it's assumed to be tahar, why is there a difference between Truma and Nazir and Pesach? So therefore, the Gemara says it has to be that it's all halacha mishmi Sinai, and therefore none of these sources are correct. It's halacha mishmi Sinai, and it was defined according to those rules, and there can't necessarily be an explanation for it. The Gemara now discusses who the author of the Mishnah is, and it brings a related shaila. So the Gemara quotes Rav Yochanan and says that the author of this Mishnah is Rav Elazar. We had a machlekes earlier in the Masechta. When is a Nazirus over? According to Rav Elazar, it's over after the haircut. According to the Chachamim, it's over already before the haircut. It's over as soon as the korban is brought. So according to the Rabbanan, the Nazirus is over. Doesn't matter what he finds out afterwards. It's finished. It's only according to Rav Elazar that it's still, the Nazirus is still existing in some sense. If he finds out at that point that he was Tameh, that you could destroy some of that Nazirus. Okay, now the Gemara says that Rabbi Rechama asked a question. Somebody becomes Tameh in the middle of his Nazirus, and he only finds out about it after the Nazirus, after the finishing of the 30 days of Nazirus. What is the halacha? Do we view it as if do we focus on the fact that he became Tameh in the middle of Nazirus, and therefore his Nazirus is messed up? But do we focus on the fact that he only found out about it afterwards, and therefore his Nazirus is fine? Now, the Mefarsher points out that Rabbi Rechama obviously didn't say our Mishnah because it's pretty clear from the Mishnah what halacha is. However, the Gemara goes ahead and brings a proof from our Mishnah to Rabbi Rechama and ends up trying to reject it. So Rabbi brings a proof. Rabbi says if you look in the Mishnah, it says pretty clearly that it doesn't matter if it was Tumas Tahim or not. In our Mishnah, if he finds out about it before the haircut, that means it only makes a difference at Tumas Tahim after the haircut. But if it's before the haircut, then if he finds out about it, he's Tameh for sure. Now, obviously, we're talking about where he finds out about it after the days of Nazirus are over, just before the haircut. If it was in the middle of the days of Nazirus, there's nothing to talk about. So it's obviously after the days of Nazirus, just before the haircut. And we have to be talking about Rav Elazar's Shita, because like we established earlier that we're in Rav Elazar here in this Mishnah. And therefore you see clearly that it is Saiser if it's before the haircut. So the Gemara asks, very nice that it's Saiser, but there's two ways of saying Saiser. Saiser could be that it knocks down all 30 days and he has to do them over. Or Saiser could just mean that he has to wait until he's Mitahir. He has to wait 7 days to be Mitahir. So which one is it? We don't understand here still what the halacha is. So the Gemara asks, who are you asking in? If you're in the Chachamim said it's Pashut that if he's Mitma at this point, he has to do his Nazirus over again. If you're in Rav Elazar, he's already said that he only has to do 7 days over again. He only has to wait 7 days until he's Mitahir. He doesn't have to actually do Nazirus over again. He just has to keep 7 more days. So the Gemara answers, no, we're in Rav Elazar, and the question is, do you say that he only has to keep 7 days here also, where he was Nitma in the middle of the Nazirus? Rav Elazar said that in a case where he became Tameh after the Nazirus is over, but before the haircut. Here he became Tameh in the middle of the Nazirus. He only found out about it afterwards. Do you say in that case that he does have to do the Nazirus over again? So the Gemara ends up saying you could still have a proof for this from our Mishnah, because it does not differentiate between what happens if it was before or if it was after. That is to say, whether the actual tumah happened during the 30 days or it happened after the 30 days before the haircut. So that implies that there's no difference there. And since there's no difference either way, Rav Elazar would only say that you only lose the 7 days. He would not say they have to go back and do the whole Nazirus over again. We now end off with a lengthy brisa discussing the halachos of Tumat Tahom. And it says as follows: somebody who finds the dead lying crosswise along a road, and you know that people passed there before. So what is the halacha? So a truma, as far as truma, you have to assume someone who passed there is tameh. As far as a nazir, somebody who wants to bring a korban in Pesach, you assume he's tahar. And now the Mishnah, the brisa qualifies this with a number of factors. First of all, it's only true if there's no place where he could have walked on the road and missed him. But if there was a place to walk on the road and it missed him, he is tahar for all three factors, even for truma. And this is also only true if the mace was found to be whole. But if he was found in pieces and there's a space between them, then you have to be afraid that maybe he passed between them. And passing between them is metamihim, because since he's between two parts of a mace, it has the din of a grave. And it's like he stepped on a grave even though there's no mace there. And therefore he is tameh. Now this is only true also if he's walking. But if he's being carried or if he's riding, then he is tameh as well, even if there is a space. And that's because as long as he's walking, he could have stepped and not touched and not moved the mace. However, if he was riding or being carried, he must have passed over or touched or moved it. Now, this is also only true if it's tumas atahom, that is hidden in tuma, but if it was known, if it was revealed, they're all tameh, all three cases. What is the definition of tumas atahom? That no one knows it, even some of the other end of the world. Or if somebody other end of the world is aware of it, that is tumas atahom. If it was hidden in straw or rocks, that counts as tumas atahom. However, if it was at nighttime and you couldn't see it, or if it was in water, or if it was hidden in a crevice, that doesn't count as tumas hatahom. It's also only true about hilchas mace, not other types of tumah.